At first glance, Summer Smith seems like a stereotypical teen girl.
I'm not giving you my phone.
Put it in the stocking, Summer, or I'm joining Facebook.
She's obsessed with her phone, her body, and her reputation at school.
This is my chance to gain some footing with the cool kids.
But while some fans hope Morty will turn out to be a genius like Rick, so far it's the elder grandchild who shows an unexpected connection to the person who claims he can't stand girls like her.
I'm ready when you are.
Bitch, I was ready yesterday.
Summer and Rick both have oft-repeated catchphrases.
Booyah.
Wubba-lubba-dub-dubs!
Boo nah.
And the scientist and his granddaughter have a lot more in common than first meets the eye.
Pulled it off.
Yeah, bro.
It's just Rick
There's a
and Morty.
long-standing joke that Morty is most useful because he's an idiot.
You're a perfect impenetrable suit of human armor, Morty, because you're as dumb as I am smart.
And this is the perfect foil for Summer's aptitude.
What kind of monster are you?
A competent one.
Summer is capable, and she's the one who earns the exceedingly rare shows of respect from her grandpa.
You figured it out. Well, Summer did.
Like Rick, Summer is able to assess a situation and slip into the role that best suits the need.
I think I look like this.
Wanna piss on him?
Get out of my head.
On her very first interdimensional adventure to the female-led Gazorpazorp, the role needed is master, and with only slight hesitation, she fits right in.
You speak when you're spoken to, ding-a-ling.
By the time she visits the Mad Max-inspired hyper-violent dimension in Rick Mancing the Stone, Summer immediately understands the rules of this world and takes charge.
Kill me, please.
Okay, but not because you told me to.
It's Summer whom Rick trusts to help him when he needs to escape the purge, and Summer is completely unfazed in Morty's mind blowers when she has to save Rick and Morty from killing themselves. Rick's appreciation for his granddaughter's talents might have something to do with the fact that she even outperforms the scientist in some of her storylines. She helps the devil succeed even as Rick tries to take him down. She figures out how to save Rick from the teenage angsty hell of Tiny Rick's mind.
You put your mind into this body's young brain, it did what young brains do. It shoved the bad thoughts into the back. But those bad thoughts are the real Rick.
And Summer saves them both with an impromptu last-minute plea before their impending doom.
And if you think my top is cute, you cannot execute.
Even though Rick might say he doesn't adventure with girls,
Are you sure it doesn't make you reevaluate your policy about taking girls on adventures?
No.
there's good reason for Rick to keep taking her along. Even without access to Rick's fancy gadgets and tools, Summer proves that, just like Rick, she can get it done.
Are you the ruler of this earth?
How did you know?
The quality of your top?
Do you love it?
I love it.
I wasn't gonna let her die, you fucking moron!
Summer and Rick are both pretty mean.
It's not a conversation. You're holding me verbally hostage.
You're both equally mercurial, overly sensitive, clingy, hysterical bird brain homunculi.
And she can match Rick's harsh criticisms when it comes to Morty,
Shut up, Morty! You vindictive little turd!
when it comes to would-be friends,
Don't tell me you're friends with her. Are you kidding me? I don't even know what she's doing here.
You gotta look out for number one.
Number one is me, asshole!
and especially when it comes to Jerry.
I don't give a what you think, Jerry.
That's you. You're a baby and an idiot.
But despite her sarcasm and sass, she desperately wants to be loved on a grand scale, just like Rick. They both seek validation from the greater world around them, and Summer has a deep desire to be able to command a room like Rick can. Summer wants the affection of her peers,
I want to be popular at school. Ooh, okay.
and with all of his catchphrases and fourth wall-breaking calls for our return,
See you next week, everybody!
Rick seems to want us to love him. So despite pushing people away,
This is my brother! Not that family means anything.
both secretly crave deeper connections. Summer can loathe her parents in one moment,
Oh my god, my parents are so loud I want to die.
and then feel great relief to have them nearby in the next. Rick never admits how much he longed to stay with Unity, but we know how badly she hurt him. Rick and Summer both have it in them to tear people down.
You're a moron, Morty!
Morty, you idiot!
But this is self-defeating behavior. They deeply want the love from the people that they so often try to keep at arm's length.
My daughter's going through a divorce, and I am not dealing with it in a healthy way at all.
We've seen both characters hurt. Summer, when she discovers that her parents might have preferred a life without her in it.
It's a real treat to be raised by parents that force themselves to be together instead of being happy.
But both Summer and Rick cope by going out of their way to avoid facing the problem.
I'm gonna move to the Southwest and, I don't know, do something with turquoise.
Rick is used to getting what he thinks he wants, like separating Beth and Jerry or throwing a successful house party. But then he gets out of dealing with the ramifications of his actions by resorting to outrageous solutions like transforming himself into a
Pickle Rick! Rick!
or freezing time for a few months. And we can see that Summer is learning to follow in Rick's footsteps by taking extreme, over-the-top measures to avoid the real issues that are bothering her. When her boyfriend starts dating someone new, she augments her body. She claims that she wants her parents to get divorced,
Whose idea was this stupid custody weekend thing? I want to be abandoned.
but then when this actually comes to pass, she'd rather stay in a different dimension married to a warlord than deal with the fact that her parents split up.
Losers look stuff up while the rest of us are carping all them DMs.
Listen to your sister, Morty.
In some ways, Summer also thinks like Rick and sees the world as he does. Just like her grandpa, Summer understands how to win an argument by throwing out traditional ethics and assumptions.
You work for the devil!
So what?
So what?
At least the devil has a job. At least he's active in the community. What do?
Like Rick, she understands relativity and knows that people parse the world through their own frames of reference.
If the machine was made by spider people, normal would mean 8 legs.
So while Jerry, of course, needs a lesson in fancy alien truck stops,
You have no frame of reference. You're in a universe beyond your imagining.
Summer calls Christmas a human holiday.
Happy human holiday, Dad.
Yet, for all their similarities, Summer is also different from Rick in a couple of key ways.
Isn't it interesting, Summer, that after all that stuff we just did, nothing really mattered and there was no point to it? Kinda makes you wonder, huh?
Summer represents a more optimistic side of the Smith family. She's as yet unconvinced by Rick's worldview that nothing matters. Whether it's because she's a young, potentially naive teenage girl, or because she understands something Rick doesn't, Summer still has high hopes for the good in the world. She holds strong opinions about right and wrong, and takes a stand for what she believes in.
Morty, open your eyes. There is no they. These poor people's bodies are being used. They're a planet of puppets.
I can hear you.
She also shows empathy. Despite traveling interdimensionally a bit more frequently now, and knowing that she's one of an infinite number of possible Summers, Rick's granddaughter maintains appreciation and respect for life.
No, don't hurt anybody.
She shows genuine concern for her neighbor across the street,
God, I feel terrible.
Yep, it really makes you appreciate how fickle the universe can be.
for Snuffles the dog,
You can't, endow a creature with sentience and then rip it away.
and especially for her grandpa.
Because I love you, and I'm trying to save your life.
Summer freely expresses her love and admiration for Rick, always calling him Grandpa Rick, unlike Morty.
Grandpa Rick! A city of grandpas? My grandpa was my hero. Grandpa Rick must have gotten shit-faced.
Shut up, Summer.
It's obvious how much she admires his brain.
Oldest Rick trick in the book.
Fake gun, shoot me, and stand up. Brilliant!
Summer also attends family therapy and appreciates the benefits of self-awareness and self-analysis. Rick can sometimes show signs of caring, but it's Summer who proves capable of harnessing emotions that Rick would dismiss.
Listen to it, Tiny Rick. Listen to Elliot Smith.
No!
Feel what he's feeling.
Her efforts in Big Trouble in Little Sanchez prove just how much she cares. While Morty would have preferred to stay with Tiny Rick, it's Summer who employs empathy to realize Rick's pain, and then sacrifices her new popularity at school to save the old man. As we see more and more how much Rick there is in Summer, it becomes clear that she's far more than just a teen girl with boy troubles. The show may use her sparingly, and sometimes as a damsel in distress or an extended metaphor for teen angst.
I'm not normal!
But when we start to view Summer as we view Rick, it's easy to see all the potential that Tiny Rick admits is in her.
Don't short sell yourself, Summer. You got everything it takes.
So it's interesting that the show has yet to explore many other versions of Summer as it's done with Rick and Morty, because it would make sense that there's at least one Summer out there who could prove an even better nemesis than evil Morty. And there's definitely a dimension with a different title for this show: Rick and Summer.
Jabba Juba.
Totally, let's do it.
If you can't get enough Rick and Morty content, then be sure to check out our friends at Wisecrack, who have put out some of the very best videos on the show. And they've also got a new Rick and Morty podcast. You can click here to go to their channel, or find them at youtube.com/wisecrack. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.